What is up, Mets fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Mets'd podcast. I mean, you saw what happened this weekend. One of the worst series ever for the Mets. I mean, one of the worst performances that a Mets team that I can remember in my lifetime has ever had. Outscored by the Pittsburgh Pirates, I think 30-4 this weekend, which is pretty unfathomable for a couple reasons. One, the Mets are supposed to be good. Two, the Pirates definitely stink. So that's the craziest part of this all is, you lose some games here and there. You have a bad series. They got mollywopped. They got absolutely destroyed by the Pittsburgh Pirates, and we're going to talk about it. There's a lot of things going on. Mets are in a 16-game stretch of playing very, very bad baseball, and there's some things behind it. I know a lot of people want to blame Eric Chavez. I've seen people pointing fingers at Carlos Mendoza. The players are not playing well if your name's not Juan Soto. There's a lot to talk about. Me and James are going to break it down for you. I don't think we're going to go deep into this series because overall, again, it was pretty intolerable. There's actually not much to talk about, but more so it's going to be a conversation about the Mets, what's going on, what's the plan for the future here, and everything going on in the Mets world. If you do enjoy the podcast, make sure you follow us on all our social media on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at Mets'd. Subscribe to the Mets'd Podcast YouTube channel if you want to see the video version of this. Shout out to all our members over there getting the episode early. We appreciate you. And if you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. James.
Yeah.
Initial impressions from the weekend, besides terrible, horrible, bad. What's another word you got for it?
I mean, terrible, horrible, and bad were definitely the first three. Horrific, ugly. I'm not going to go all the way to catastrophic as the siren goes behind me. I guess
it's perfect.
That's a good metaphor for the perfect timing of how this whole thing went. But it was just, I don't know, to use some French, dog shit. Horrific. Like, the whole thing sucked. Like, there wasn't even a moment after the fifth inning in one game this series where the Mets were within 3 runs against the Pittsburgh Pirates, who are one of the most laughably bad, poorly run franchises in all of, not even Major League Baseball, basically professional sports at this point. And you basically just handed them 3 games. And it just sucks that we keep on going on this stretch where the Mets keep blowing the lead they've built up over the first half of the season, ruining what was an incredible 3 months of baseball, down to 19-25 on the road, which is really, really bad. Not what you want to do if you want to be a playoff team or a division-winning team. It's hard. I mean, it's hard. It's not even hard. It's impossible to find even one single positive to take from this series.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are going to want to point fingers at the pitching because you gave up 30 runs to the Pittsburgh Pirates, and that is also
fair.
Unacceptable. It's bad. The pitching we knew was going to regress at some point. I didn't think it was going to be this hard. I didn't think we'd be seeing David Peterson getting shelled by the Pittsburgh Pirates. Paul Blackburn, I thought, was at least a capable major league pitcher where he would be able to get outs against the Pittsburgh Pirates. I know the rain delay happened, and that kind of screwed things up too, but he's so bad. He's horrible. And Frankie Montas was throwing, like 93, 94 today, so he just didn't have the juice. I mean, he can't keep getting away with that. The fact that they weren't able to even get length out of these starters in games against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Sometimes teams are going to score. They're going to get hits. They're going to get hot. But to not even get some length out of these guys was such a killer and so taxing to this team who's already been going through it with the bullpen and the lack of depth from starters to begin with.
Also, swing back. I messed up a fact at the beginning saying there wasn't a game within 3 runs after the 5th inning because Saturday actually was. You saying Paul Blackburn jogged the memory, but Oscar Brazovan shit down his leg so hard and actually forgot about how close that game was through like the middle innings there. But you come off the bat blaming Paul Blackburn. I'm not saying Paul Blackburn's a good pitcher, and I don't really even want Paul Blackburn to make his next start, for me to be perfectly honest with you. But I felt like a major disservice to him that he was brought back out after a rain delay in the beginning of that game on Saturday in a situation where, for some reason, that's happened to the Mets 3 or 4 times this season, and I don't know why. I don't know why he happened to have been tasked with that opportunity, especially when you have a guy like Brandon Waddell who's on the roster and fully rested, who ends up still pitching 3 innings this game, and I'll say this, pitched well in this game. I just don't know why at that point, if that's David Peterson or if that's Clay Holmes or if that's like when they come back, Sean Manaea, Cole Sank, I understand wanting to stretch your starter a little bit, trying to get that guy more innings. But if it's Paul Blackburn, it's like, I don't know, call a spade a spade. If Paul Blackburn pitches 1 inning, Paul Blackburn pitches 1 inning. We move on to the next game. If you want to bring him back in 3 days, you bring him back in 3 days. Like, I don't know why in that scenario, Carlos Mendoza found it necessary to bring him back in that game on Saturday afternoon.
I'm assuming, again, I feel like the reporters have not been asking very good questions recently. I missed Tim Healy getting in there, asking the good questions. But, like, there was a lot of questions that kind of felt like we're not poked and prodded enough. And the fact that the response for Paul Blackburn was not really as detailed or descriptive as I would have liked.
I actually thought Blackburn's response was good because he basically said
not from him, I meant from Mendoza.
Yes, that's where I was going to go with this, because Blackburn was kind of like, they thought the rain delay was going to be a little bit shorter, which I do understand that's fair. it does seem like when you get a rain delay, 25 minutes into a Major League Baseball game, you're expecting to be a quick delay in and out, put the tarp on 10 minutes, get back out in the field. We end up going over a half hour, so that's what it is. But Blackburn was like, hey, they told me to stay ready. I tried to stay ready. I was amped. I got back in there ready to go. I was stretching. I was like keeping active. Went a little long. I lost a bit of that activity. At that point, the manager, Carlos Mendoza, you have to adjust from what the original plan was. Like, regardless of what's happening with the weather and the umpires, you have to make a change. If you lose your starter, you lose your starter. You have guys ready to go. You called up Blade Tidwell the day before. He got to eat the innings off David Peterson. You have Brandon Waddell in the bullpen. He wound up going 3 great innings. He easily could have gone 4, probably could have gone 5. It's like you just have to. It feels like this team's playing poorly, and Mendoza's still an inexperienced manager. We forget that because of how amazing last year went. I'm not saying this is something he does a lot. I'm not saying something I think that he's necessarily guilty of often. But in this situation, this losing streak, it seems like he's being a little bit too obsessed is the wrong word. I don't want something as serious as obsessed, but a little bit too steadfast in sticking to plans rather than adjusting on the fly and doing maybe what actually might be the best in the moment.
Which is something that I felt like he was great at last year. When the Mets season turned around, you saw a lot of adjustments. You saw Francisco being moved up to the leadoff spot. You saw Brandon Nimmo moving. You saw Pete Alonso moving. Like you saw movement and change. And we even saw that earlier this year when the Mets hit that tiny little skid, and then you move Juan Soto to the 3-hole, and all of a sudden things start to look better again. You start hitting the baseball better. You start having better offense, winning games. That is the one disappointing thing, was for sure how some of the games have been handled recently, some of the pitching decisions, but also at the same time, every single button that's being pushed right now, whether it's the right decision process-wise or not, is just going wrong. I mean, that's also the case too. So I'm sure at the same time, maybe there's a little bit of thought process behind Mendoza being like, I mean, we got to try something. It's got to be Paul Blackburn today. Now, that being said, terrible decision. We know that. Hindsight 2020, but still bad decision in the moment. Didn't make sense to begin with. I don't know how much longer we can see Paul Blackburn on the mound. He's got nothing. I know we always joked about he's got nothing.
He's got nothing, but I still think it's not all the way like with the Boodle conversation we had a month and a half ago, but I still think he's a little bit too valuable to cut.
Is he?
A little bit. I think a little bit.
What do you think his value? I'm not saying what do you think his value is, but what is the value that he brings to this team? That's what I want to know.
I think he's still an inning sponge, and there's a team with very shallow starting pitching depth for at least the next 2-3 weeks. So I think with that kind of starting pitching depth, you need him to be. I'd be in favor of again switching Paul Blackburn and Brandon Waddell's at roles right now.
This: is he an inning sponge?
I think he can be an inning sponge if in the proper situation. He's also, again, we joked about this over text. I don't want to spend much more of this episode trying to defend Paul Blackburn because again, like I just said, I don't want Paul Blackburn to make his next start. But he pitched against the Dodgers, then he pitched against the Braves, and then he pitched against the Braves again, and then he just had a start where he got knocked out in the first inning and had to come back after a 45-minute rest. He's dealt with a lot of bullshit this year with this team that most pitchers won't have to deal with. So I do think that while he's not been good, he's also got the bad end of this stick. Yeah, I think both of those can't be true.
Okay, that's fair. I'll give you that one. But yeah, no more Paul Blackburn talk. He stinks.
Done. Over. No more Paul Blackburn.
Especially because he's due to pitch against the Yankees, which that's gonna be.
But again, it keeps getting worse for Paul Blackburn. And again, this was pitch starting against the Pirates. It's supposed to be okay. Gets through a clean first inning, then it's here you go. Take a really long break, and that's all right. Again, no more Paul Blackburn talk. But similar to this game, we're talking about process-wise, Mendoza kind of being a little bit resistant to adjusting right now, really trying to stick with his guys, breathing confidence more than finding solutions. When this lineup came out, as the sirens keep blaring, wonderful Sunday night in Brooklyn, why is Mark Vientos hitting second? I got to be honest. Mark Vientos hasn't done anything this season to warrant hitting second. There's no reason on earth where Mark Vientos should be hitting second, where Brandon Nimmo, who's hit lefties and righties and everybody for the last 2 months, is down hitting fifth. And because this is our fault, because we said I really hope we don't see Starling Marte hitting second again.
Yeah, no.
And it's Mark Vientos, but I feel like there has to be some element of Mark Vientos re-earning that spot rather than just being gifted that spot.
That was because Bailey Falter was going to be on the mound, right?
No, he was a lefty on the mound, but then again, and that was supposed to happen. Then the rain delay, Braxton Ashcraft's on the mound, but still. Even a lefty on the mound, just hit Brandon Nimmo there.
Well, that was going to be my whole thing. Do you want me to get into a deeper conversation about the offense as a whole? Also, by the way, just for his career, Mark Vientos split-wise is the exact same lefty-righty. So if you're going to hit him second against the lefty, you technically should then be hitting him second against the righty if you feel the same way about it, especially because Nimmo is just better. Nimmo's a better hitter. He's one of the few guys on this team that actually is still consistently hitting him. Jeff McNeil, Juan Soto, basically doing all the hitting right now, which is hilarious. The 3 lefties on this team all doing the hitting right now. But what were you going to say first? I'll let you go.
I was going to say, every time we face a lefty pitcher, we get shut down. But yeah, continue.
Yes.
All right, Harry's is going to get an award here, MVP in the shaving world. And AJ, if you want to equate it to things that we talk about, it's not expensive. And it's super versatile, right? The company itself, because there's other products that you can get on the site, deodorant, body wash, etc. But for your everyday shaving needs, Harry's has you covered. And you look at the pricing, you look at the quality, and you're like, wait, why was I using the old classic brand for a long time?
Listen, as somebody right now that needs a Harry's, I've just been lazy. Harry's, I have plenty of them lined up, ready to use. You can use them for more than one shave, which is huge for me. And the pricing is right. I got to go get my Harry's because my neck beard is sick. But Harry's will fix that. It'll line me up straight. It'll no bumps, no cuts. It's exactly what I need for a great price.
That's right. Get the edge on your shave with Harry's. Normally their trial set is $10, but right now you can get it for just $6 at harrys.com/foul. That's our exclusive link, harrys.com/foul, for a $6 trial set.
The problem with this team right now, we know, again, the pitching's been bad, but I feel like there's probably a little bit pressure on these pitchers right now. The classic feel like you have to pitch perfectly because the offense can't do anything whatsoever right now, can't get anything going unless Juan Soto physically does it himself. I took a look at some of the deeper numbers as a team as a whole, and I know that, again, the Eric Chavez conversation is what's hot right now in the baseball world, and I'm with it. I mean, I really don't want to see him be the Mets hitting coach much longer. I don't know how much longer we can keep beating our head into the ground and think that something's going to change here. And this has been a problem with Eric Chavez for a while in the Mets, and I don't know how much of an actual problem he is, but something's got to change. Someone's got to be held accountable for the lack of hitting.
Do you mean Eric Chavez, who's just lucky?
Yeah, he is just lucky. I can't even talk about that guy right now, but to talk about what's been going on over this 16-game stretch for the Mets. Now, Fangraphs, I don't think has technically updated if you do like the calendar yet, but the Mets right now over the 16-game stretch have a .289 on-base percentage. That is 26th in Major League Baseball. That's one of the worst on-base percentages in the league. Going into this bad stretch, the Mets were 4th in on-base percentage over a much bigger sample size. 332 on base. Right now they're rocking a .289. So on base, 50 points lower than they normally are. That's a pretty significant amount. You look at the batting averages. The batting average is down 230 as opposed to 248. That's down. That's a lot of hits, almost 20 points. The slugging percentage, this is the biggest thing. This has always been my biggest detractor of Eric Chavez and just the philosophy of this team at times. Singles. What was the team doing early in the year, James, that was making them score a lot of runs? How do you win baseball games? What do we do?
Home runs, baby.
Home runs. Right now, the New York Mets have one of the worst slugging percentages in baseball over the last few games. 374. That's around the offenses like the Pittsburgh Pirates, like the Oakland Athletics, like the Chicago White Sox. Those are worse, but that's close. And the Mets slugging percentage over the first good chunk of the year when they were playing well was 5th in Major League Baseball at 427. That's almost 100 points difference. The WRC plus for the Mets over the good stretch was 115. Right now, the Mets WRC plus over the bad stretch is a hard 89. I mean, there's just the offense is non-existent. And if you take Juan Soto out of the equation, it's even scarier because he has legitimately had one of the best months in Mets baseball history. And these offensive numbers as a team are still so fucking bad.
It's like deplorably bad. And like the problem is that when you look at this full month, a lot of this still pulled up by the fact that we played the Nationals and the Rockies and the Rockies again at the beginning of it. So our stats for the full month still look good. But the second that we played that series against the Rays, the second that we had to deal with this Phillies-Braves triple series, it's like this, you face some good pitchers and it feels like they've just kind of turtled. Like it just feels like no one's really there. And I do think a big part of this is something that's like much more simple, like the natural yin and yang of how hot Pete Alonso was beginning of the season. Now, of course, just the way baseball works, he's pretty cold right now. That's okay. The Francisco Lindor broken toe, I think looms large as well. He's still hitting the ball hard consistently, but it's just not exactly the same consistency, not the same oomph, not the same pull. I don't think you're seeing that as well. And then it continues to happen. We talked about a lot last 2 episodes where this bottom of the order is just not doing anything consistently ever. No. I think you still have some moments from Brett Baty. I think he has still been like a bit of a saving grace to a part of this team this season. But Vientos has come back and continues to not hit. Luis Torrens has still not found the stride. Again, it's hard to count Luis Torrens as just a very normal, nominal backup catcher in Major League Baseball. Ryan Mauricio is simply not that guy. Tyrone Taylor is simply not that guy. Like that's just what this is right now. It's really hard to sustain any kind of consistent offense when a third of your lineup is incapable of really hitting any single day. I think that's something that needs to be addressed. I think we hoped it would be addressed by now. We were much more positive last time we talked to you guys after those 2 Braves games before this Pirates series started. I feel stupid for that recording the episode Friday afternoon now, but it's just that's where this team is. And it's hard to figure how they improve until there's at least one more bat. And Jesse Winker will be another bat who's back in his lineup in about 10 days, 2 weeks now. He's playing rehab games in Brooklyn. But there needs to be something. But also at the same time, while they're playing like shit, well, every single day I turn on television, I'm like, I don't really want to see what's going to happen. I'm definitely still not as doom and gloom as most people out there.
Absolutely
not even close. Like I'm not like the panic button's like kind of on the table. Like I started to think about 2023, especially in the last 48 hours. But I'm still certainly not there yet.
No, I'm definitely not there yet. And as bad as that series was, as bad as, again, the last 2 weeks of baseball have been for the New York Mets, pretty intolerable to watch. I don't think that a 16-game sample should change your opinion about what this team can be. I think it can change your opinion of maybe they weren't as good as we thought. Maybe they're not the best team in baseball like they had record-wise, stuff like that. And I think most people didn't truly think that, but you could have felt that in your heart a little bit. Like, wow, played good with the Dodgers, playing good baseball, winning games, swept the Phillies early in the year. Like, things were looking really good. But I think to be thrown off completely, I mean, I've had a couple people say, I'm out on this team. It's time for Mendoza to go. I'm like, so we're going to take, over the grand scheme of Major League Baseball, a 10% sample size and be like, that's the team that they are, rather than the entire year, which we've seen of, I think, 85 games or so. So 70 good games, 70 games of quality baseball, and be like, that's not them. These 16 games, this is who they are.
This is like if we were in the NFL season and the Mets were 6-2.
Yeah.
And then we got to game.
And then they were like,
right now. We got to game 9. We got smoked in game 9. No, it would be like we're 5-2. We got to game 8. We got smoked in game 8. And then we got to game 9. And we're 6 minutes left in the first half. And we're still playing like dog shit. Like that's how much the Mets are playing bad if we turn the baseball season relative terms to the NFL season. I know people like to NFLize Major League Baseball a lot. Our friend Matt Eddy came to us that comparison a few months ago. I thought it was a great one because that's kind of how all sports media kind of gravitates back to football. So I think a lot of people try to react very quickly to things where baseball is just not that sport. But that while, again, there's no actual fear and terror, there still is cause for concern. But at the same time, like galaxy brain take, this series against the Pirates, you get massacred by a horrible team. Totally fair. Understand that. There's almost some inkling of solace in my heart that while you got massacred by a bad team, they played so bad that it's more of a stench than an actual problem with the talent. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it's more of like a funk, like a mental thing, that something is actually wrong with the players, the organization, the coaches, the mindset. Like, it's just not.
Does that scare you more?
That's problem. That doesn't scare me more, because to me it's more like you need like a slap in the face, a shot in the arm. Like they tried the players only meeting,
did not
botch,
work.
Didn't work at all. You have a players only meeting, and Travis Jankowski pitches the next game. That's a big mistake. But to me, it's just the fact that it was total mental bullshit. Like the Mets went toe to toe with the Pirates and lost 3 1-run games. I think I'd be more mad.
And like they blew them. Like
that's
the
what I'm
bullpen
saying,
blows the game, or like we have bases loaded up against the bullpen last 3 innings and we hit into double plays every single time. Like that would actually drive me insane. I'd lose some like brain cells over that one. Where this one, at least like you said, by the 3rd, 4th, 5th inning, I was like, oh, the game's over. I can go have some fun and not worry about what's going on with this team right now, because it really is that bad. It's a weird thing to say, but getting the shit kicked out of you mentally, I can handle it more than if we lost close games to the Pirates, who are so bad.
And that again, maybe I'm just dead wrong on this in my take.
Maybe we have like Stockholm syndrome too, but
maybe so. But like, you guys let me know in the comments. I'm 3 weeks away, or a full 6-game more losing streak week away of being 2023 level of, this is actually a catastrophe. But to me, it's just like they kind of showed up to Pittsburgh with their bodies and not their brains.
No.
That's kind of how it feels to me. I'm not, it's shit. Total shit. I feel so bad for how many Mets fans were at that stadium every single day. That place was packed. There, 7 line. My guy Supps was there, went over from Chicago. Incredible Mets fan. He gets in multiple road series a year. It seemed like they were loud and proud, and the Pirates fans were really relishing in the fact that they can kind of dunk in the Mets fans' faces. But it just felt like they fully just didn't show up. And some people in my mentions like, we gotta respect the Pirates. I was like,
no, absolutely not
respecting the fucking Pirates. Their owner, if their owner went to a New York City bar, he would tip 10%. Like they're not, they're unwilling to spend any money whatsoever.
It might be that time. If you're looking for a new car, there's one place to go that is going to take care of you. And it's CarGurus.
Yeah. Looking for a car should be fun, not exhausting. Everywhere else, it's exhausting. You're dodging people. You're trying to just, can I look at this car? CarGurus, you type in your search, you find the color that you want, it narrows it down for you, and all of a sudden you're like, this has been an exciting experience, and you got a great deal.
With over 4 million listings, CarGurus has more car listings than any other major online automotive marketplace in the US, so you can find the best deal. It's no wonder SimilarWeb estimated traffic data shows CarGurus is the #1 most visited car shopping site. Buy or sell your next car today with CarGurus at CarGurus.com. Go to CarGurus.com to make sure your big deal is the best deal. That's CarGurus.com. CarGurus.com.
Also, this happens in baseball. The Pirates swept the Phillies earlier this year. I believe they swept the Dodgers last year. This is not an excuse for the Mets. This is more about the respect the Pirates. This team fucking stinks. There's no respect deserved to this team. I think they have one hitter with an OPS plus above 100 that's in their everyday lineup. Their pitching has been better than you expected, but Paul Skeens really does carry a lot of that. The one thing that the itch that I cannot scratch, and it goes back to coaching, but not on the side of Carlos Mendoza, Eric Chavez, and even a little bit, tiny little bit of Jeremy Hefner here, ever so slightly. He's not infallible. I think there can be mistakes there. How the fuck can we not figure out how to pitch to Key Brian Hayes, Jared Triolo? These guys only play well against the New York Mets. They are 560 OPS guys. Key Brian Hayes, I think, had 5 hits this series. Jared Triolo, of course, had a bunch of hits. There's a weird thing where sometimes I feel like the preparedness of this team is not the best. Pitching's usually pretty solid. So again, I'll just mention how weirdly those guys own the Mets for their career. But the offense, that's what concerns me the most, is the offense's preparedness. It seems like guys don't necessarily have a plan unless your name is Juan Soto, Brandon Nimmo, or crazy enough, Jeff McNeil right now, who used to be one of the most impatient hitters in baseball. Now he's taking pitches. He's having a great season. But Pete cannot lay off the high pitch ever, and he's back to chasing at every single pitch. And that's him being a golden retriever. We know that he's probably I need to help this team so bad. We can't hit. I got to hit home runs. I got to do whatever. Or maybe he's thinking about hitting singles again because he's not hitting the ball well at all. Lindor has been kind of getting blown by on fastballs. It feels like a little bit more often than you have. You go to the other spots in the line. It's why? How are their bad hitters prepared for what we've got, and we're not prepared for what their pitching has at all with the better hitters? And sometimes you get beat. But this is a weird thing where I think sometimes the passivity of this Mets lineup hurts them at times, because I feel like when you face a Mitch Keller, when you face a Bailey Falter, who pitched the other game for the Pirates,
Mike Burrows.
Yeah, when you face a Mike Burrows, don't take him out of the game because you took pitches, because you worked up their pitch count. Beat the piss out of them. And I feel like that the Mets team these past 2 weeks, there's been no let's beat the piss out of this team. It's been we're going to grind away. And that's very much the Eric Chavez experience. He wants pitches. He wants grinding at bats. He wants the process of a good plate appearance rather than be what if? Let me tell you this. What if we take one of the best offenses in baseball and we put up 12 on them because these pitchers are fucking trash? What if we hit them?
I mean, there's definitely some positive sentiment in being able to grind at bats, get to bullpens, do all that stuff. But
against Zach Wheeler,
it has to come with just more consistent baseball. And it's not like the Mets were in and out of these at bats, I don't know, that quickly. Some of the Pirates guys are also not in and out of bats quickly. But you get and that O'Neal Cruz home run the first inning today. It's just the first pitch is a cutter right down the middle, 88 miles an hour, and he hits it to Mars. And it's just okay,
execute.
that's what you can do. And also the most frustrating part is you can kind of live with dinks and dunk singles we talk about a lot. Bottom of this Pirates order was blazing the ball. They were crushing the baseball.
Henry Davis is a major bust, and he was hitting balls all over the place. You'd think that he was a #1 overall pick the way he played this weekend.
Tommy Pham was relishing and crushing the Mets.
Did you see what Tommy Pham's OPS plus was coming into the series? It was 43.
And now it's much higher than that. He's got now 600 OPS, which is pretty good for the Pirates roster. But again, Key Brian Hayes, O'Neal Cruz, Tommy Pham, Henry Davis in this game on Sunday combined for, quick math here, 11 hits.
That's insane.
11 hits and 8 RBIs. The Mets feels like haven't had 11 hits or 8 RBIs in a week.
Well, the Mets had 10 hits the other night and scored, 1-2 runs?
Yeah, Saturday. Yeah, sure they did. They were all singles.
Singles, baby. That's the way. I know I'm going to alienate some of our fan base, but I'll do it again. Singles are not the answer. I feel like people get it so twisted about this is what happens when you live and die by the home run. No. The problems that the Mets are having right now is because singles do not win games. Everyone lives and dies by the home run. You want to know why? It is the only hit in the entire sport that guarantees you get 1 run on the board. Singles, you need 3, sometimes 4 to get 1 run. Doubles, you need 2 of them. Triples, you need 2 hits. Home run, you put the ball in the air over the fence, it is guaranteed 1 run. And if there's guys on base, it might be 2, 3, or sometimes even 4. And the Mets are not hitting home runs at a sustainable rate right now. The power's not there. Pete being cold is a part of it. Lindor being cold is a part of it. But if you take away Juan Soto's 11 home runs, I think the Mets have 8 home runs in the last 16 games, which is insane.
Yeah, and again, that game on Saturday, it was just 2 doubles. The one by Lindor and the one by Alonso. And that was it.
Yeah.
Out of the 10 hits, 8 of them were singles. That's how you wind up with only 2 runs. And that's also a function of what we talked about at the top here, where there's no semblance of a bottom of the order. The bottom of the order wasn't even that bad in that game. There were at least a handful of hits, but it's just not. It's not enough. Beatty had double in that game as well. I forgot.
Yeah, because Beatty had the double where, unlucky, it bounced off the base.
IKF.
Yeah, tagged him. And it was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? How does that even happen?
Beatty made a nice diving play on Sunday, too.
Yes.
I will say, as bad as this team has been, I still continue to have a lot of confidence in Brett Beatty. I think it's going very under the radar that some might alienate some fans this one, too. Some people might yell at me for this. He's become exactly the player we actually expect him to be in all the offseason content we did.
I know.
He's on pace
great fielder.
On base for 20 home runs in a 3-WAR season with a 300 on base percentage. That's not necessarily a great player, but that's someone that you can happily put 7th in your order, and you're really happy they're on your roster. So even basically having a 100 WRC plus with the most disastrous April any batter ever could have possibly had, even if you just take the pace from May 1st on for Brett Baty, or even from when he came back from the minor leagues on, you're looking at someone who's 10-15% better than league average with a 25 homer pace, who is getting a 3-WAR player with great defense. He's done more than enough, I think, to be someone who at least should be capable and be able to be left on this roster for the foreseeable future. That being said, it's still not enough. There's still an absolute need for another hitter in this lineup. Brett Baty doing everything I'm just saying, I don't think guarantees him playing time for the rest of the season, but I do think that tells us that Brett Baty is a capable Major League Baseball player. And that, while that's a win, it's not enough for what this team needs right now to be the team we want them to be.
Yeah, and between Vientos coming back and still not looking completely himself, but I'll give him benefit of the doubt because he just came back from injury. Give him a little second to breathe before I start. Yeah, before I start clamoring for changes to be made to him. But someone has to be that guy to step up. And we also do need our 2 big guys. We need Lindor and Alonso to play better. They've been really bad for 2 weeks, horrendously bad. Alonso's about to get his OPS passed by Juan Soto, partially because Juan Soto is amazing and his OPS is above 900. Shout out Juan Soto. But Pete's is dropping and dropping and dropping. And we've seen the chase rate go back up. We've seen the K rate go back up. We've seen the pop-ups and the strikeouts go back up. I don't know what happened. I don't know what changed, but ever since that article came out about how he went and saw outside opinions for how he was hitting, nothing. There's been nothing besides that 3-hit game against the Braves on Thursday night?
Yeah, Thursday night. And it's all bad too. Even the bullpen, I mentioned Brazoban. Brazoban is fucking lost.
Bro, he's getting sent down, surely.
I mean, he probably is, which is so inconceivable considering where he was in April and May. But this is kind of the function of a guy like Huascar Brazoban. Doesn't really have a pitch he can lean on besides his changeup, and at the same time doesn't really know where the changeup is going. We were mildly excited about Colin Poche being up to this team, already designated for assignment. Dickie Lovelady is back, got crushed again on Sunday. It's just there needs to be some consistency. We were excited about the Frankie Montas debut earlier this week. Got hammered again on Sunday. For all the 96s, 97, he was throwing in that first start. Ducked down into being 94s and 95s today. Frankie Montas can't really pitch the way he wants to pitch at 94 and 95. When he was really good against the Braves on Tuesday, that was because he was kind of just Lance Lynning it, like Dominican Lance Lynn, where he was just fastball, sinker, cutter, bang, 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 hammer, 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 97 miles an hour, 98 miles an hour. He showed up on Sunday. He didn't throw a pitch over 96.5. It was a lot more sliders and splitters, which I guess there was a reason he did not throw those as much on Tuesday night. That's because he wasn't really able to throw either of them the strike zone whatsoever, and the Pirates were chasing them a little bit, but definitely not enough for them to be consistent either. No splitters were touched, none were put in play, but also barely any got strikes. It's just hard to – it's hard for Frankie Montas to be – I don't know. If he could throw 1 more mile an hour harder, I think he'd be significantly better. And I'm still not I'm not like a lot of the people right now where I'm like, blaring the horn, sirens on Frankie Montas. Get him off the team right now. But he just...
Well, we also are not those Mets fans either we know there's a secret group of them that root against the Mets. They don't want to see the Mets do very well. So that's also part of us being optimists, the very few of Mets fans. But I know a lot of you guys listening to us as well feel the same way. I know there's going to be some dissenters. There's going to be some people who are like, Frankie Montas sucks. And I think you're entitled to that opinion until he proves you wrong. Totally fair and fine. But also at the same time, like, I don't know. David Stearns pulls the rabbit out of the hat many times. He did it a couple times last year. I'm going to give Frankie Montas more than 10 innings before I make that decision.
And you guys heard, hopefully the last episode we did, which was like the first half of the season full breakdown a few days ago. It came out Saturday. So you guys have to catch up, even though that episode sounds stupid as fuck now after
it sounds bad.
Our doors blown off in 3-game series against the Pirates. But I still go back to the fact that the thing I'm worried about this team, which I thought was starting pitching at the beginning of the year, is not starting pitching anymore. It's the lineup. And it's like, I need one more hitter. I especially want one more right-handed hitter in this lineup badly. But Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso have to kind of just hit better. One of Vientos or Mauricio Bailey has to just kind of pull themselves up and like be a very good hitter. And there's also probably a bit of a leadership aspect that Francisco Lindor or Pete Alonso have to step up into right now. We heard in the players-only meeting after the game on Saturday that Lindor, Alonso, and Brad Nimmo were apparently the most vocal players. Might have to do it again because it didn't really work. Someone might have to, I don't know. Like, I know the whole mantra of Lindor, who's the leader of this team, is calm, cool, collected, go to the office every day, do your work, put your hard hat on, get down to business. If they have another bad week here at home and head into the All-Star break, falling actually games behind the Phillies in the division, you have to do this again. You might have to bring a little more fire and flair to what this is because something has to change mentally with this team. Maybe that falls on Mendoza as well. Like, there has to be something that happens because it's every single game they looked lifeless. Again, they looked like they left themselves back into the field when they traveled to Pittsburgh. And it's kind of unacceptable at a time like this in the season.
Especially because even sleepwalking, he should be able to beat the Pirates.
He should at least win one game.
It shouldn't take more than 50% effort. Like
sweeps are so fucking ugly. It's hard to sweep a team. It's hard to sweep a good team. The fact they've gotten swept now 3 times in your last 5 series, it's like
crazy.
This is how you really lose everything you've built up in the first half of the season. Like all of the wins you stacked are fading and fading and fading. Thank God we had that stretch against the White Sox and the fucking Rockies like a couple of weeks ago because now it's like you got 6 games this weekend, good teams, and the Brewers and the Yankees. Then you have Orioles and Royals teams that back end of that in a mini road trip. 2 teams fighting for their lives before the trade deadline. It's like, if you don't wake up and win, this is even going to sound like loser talk, 6 of 12 games.
Yeah.
Now you're going into the All-Star break feeling like shit. And that's where those, again, like I said a couple minutes ago, the 2023 starts to creep back in your mind where it's like, is this team actually falling apart? I don't believe they are, but I also don't believe that's impossible.
Yeah, I don't either. Again, like you said, the panic button's close.
I'm looking crazy. At it. It's on my desk.
I know where it is. I'm aware. The box is open. We got the codes, but like we haven't launched yet. The thing that I just keep going back to when you mention it here, and before I bring up about the Mets also on the road being a major problem, and that's actually something that does legitimately concern me for the entire season. Pete Alonso since June 13th. Again, that is the big day when we played the Rays. He is hitting 276, which batting average, people, that's pretty good, right? Pretty good batting average? Surely he must be playing so well. James, how many home runs does Pete Alonso have in his last 16 games?
1? I remember
one home run. How many doubles does he have?
I think I remember 2 doubles.
He's got 3. So he has 4 extra base hits in his last 60 plate appearances. That's good for a 379 slugging, a 702 OPS. Good thing he's hitting for a pretty high average, though, right? 276. It's good. He's getting his singles. Getting that average. That sounds great. Francisco Lindor, it's shocking how bad he's been over the last few weeks. At least he has 2 home runs. It's more than Pete. 3 doubles, 5 RBIs. He's hitting 183 with a 242 on base, 333 slugging. That is a 576 OPS, 20 total bases. I think Juan Soto had 20 total bases in 2 games against the Braves. Like, those 2 guys, especially being at the top, and that kind of being like Lindor gets the first out of the inning, maybe Nimmo and Soto do a little something, Pete gets the next out, and then the rest of the order is weak. It's pretty tough to have 2 of your best hitters doing absolutely nothing.
You're also looking at the Major League standings right now. We've eviscerated our run differential in these last couple weeks as well. We're down to plus 39. The Cincinnati Reds have a better run differential than us now. The St. Louis Cardinals are a game behind us in the standings with a better run differential. Like we've gone away from being one of like the class of the National League to being in there with everybody else. And the second you're in there with everybody else,
you are everybody else.
As we've alluded to, you're now the playoff spot is tenuous. And again, we're not standings watchers until we get to July 4th, which happens to be in a couple days here. But you gotta, if you don't play better, you're just not better. The Marlins are in a 7-game win streak.
That's pretty insane. The Marlins have a significantly better record on the road than the New York Mets. The Mets have one of the worst records on the road. The Mets have the same record as the Sacramento A's, who have 34 wins on the road. Same exact record, 19-25. There's like 2 teams that have a worse road record right now than the Mets. There's 3. The White Sox, not even the Nationals, the Colorado Rockies, and the Pirates, I think, are the only teams with a worse road record than the Mets.
Here's Galaxy Brain. Is Citi Field too much fun for the Mets to leave and have to deal with these other ballparks?
Here's a Galaxy Brain. Do the Mets love their families so much that they're sleeping too much because all the newborn babies aren't there to wake them up in the middle of the night? They're getting too much sleep. They come to the ballpark tired. Is that a possibility? There is such thing as too much sleep. Maybe they're used to they need that 6 a.m. coffee when the baby wakes up. Our
Mets fans too sick? We give them too much energy where they go on the road and they play in these half-full ballparks like Pittsburgh. There's no juice.
How can you be so dominant at home? 29-12, and that's with having some really bad games, getting swept by the Rays and losing 2 to the Braves. Lost 5 games. They were going to be 29-7, before those horrible games, that horrible stretch. And then you go on the road and you are one of the worst teams in baseball on the road. That's a problem. What's the problem? I don't know though. Is there anybody who can give us some insight how that can even possibly happen? They're not the Colorado Rockies. They're not changing altitudes.
One of the greatest ironies about this whole stretch is that the Mets still have the second or third best win percentage in all baseball against teams that are over 500.
Yeah.
Which is, again, we're still trying to hang our hats on. We're still trying to believe in this team in the long term. And I still do.
I do, yeah.
While being aware that there's a lot of just chinks in his armor still. And nothing is given. Everything is earned. There's no entitlement. And I think we probably have fully now shut the door on the momentum from last season. Everything that we pulled with us. And I've said it the last couple of episodes, but this is still so much reminding me of the Phillies team from last year.
Yeah.
No similarities in the roster, the concept of anything, but just the fact that you kind of rest on the laurels of what you did the year before and try to ride the momentum as long as they'll take you. And we had that stretch like a month ago, and we were super excited, where we kept telling you guys about the last calendar year. The Mets have the most wins in baseball, 365 days, 366 days. Now it's over, but it's like, okay, now you're off that. We keep getting all these tweets from all the Mets accounts on Twitter and Instagram where it's like, 1 year ago was the OMG song night, Jose Iglesias, the Grimace thing. It's like, all right, let's move the fuck on. We're playing baseball right now. This is a new team with new players, new situation, new emotions, new feelings. We did probably fall into that trap in the early part of the season. You're like, yep, it's going to be fun forever. This is awesome. Nothing's ever going to be bad again. And it's like, all right, maybe in a greater, longer, more zoomed out degree, like we'd like to say about the organizational structure and the mindset and the vision nowadays. But at the same time, you've lost that momentum on the field. And are we going to just meander to a 500 record for the rest of the season, still be 8 games over 500 because of how hot we were in April and May, get to the playoffs ice cold, get our doors blown off, and have an offseason where we're kind of searching for answers without many on the actual roster? Because that's kind of what this team feels like they've done this month of June. Because again, while they've been dog shit, it's still, if you go 4-2 in 6 games at home, you're still basically a 500 record in June. I think maybe 1 game under if you go 4-2. So it's still where you're on pace where just because of how much you built up, you could make the postseason. But that's not the goal. That's not what we want to do. You want to end the regular season hot, vibrant, feeling yourself, and that's the opposite of what's happening the second.
I'm nervous that Grimace is going to make an appearance this week.
Oh
yeah.
I don't know.
Do you think they make the call to the Golden Arches?
I think that would actually be
really
horrible.
Bad. I know. Yeah. That's what I'm worried about right now. And it's not that I'm anti-Grimace. I know I've been deemed that in the past based on my tweets, and that's fair. But I'm worried that they're going to try and manufacture a gimmick right now this upcoming week against the Brewers. And I want to see it. Just go out and play good baseball. That's it. This is a good baseball team. Play good baseball.
For the YouTube crowd, I wore some purple pants today.
Oh, nice.
Hanging out at New York Pride, and I posted a picture on Instagram about it, and some of my friends were like, you got to put the Grimace pants away. I was like, hey man, this has nothing to do with Grimace. Get your mind out of 2024. I'm just wearing purple pants to support my homies out there. But it's there has to be a little bit of a move on. There has to be a shake. There's no shake with this team.
Now there's one way that a shake can be made to this team. There's a pretty big thing coming up at the end of July. And I think, based on how they play, I hope David Stearns sees what's going on. I think he understands better than we do, obviously. He knows what's going on. do you think he's going to be a little more aggressive right now based on how the Mets have been playing over these last few weeks? Because I personally, I think he needs to be. I think this is the time. We've talked about it in the past before. The Mets have a lot of chips in that farm system. Nobody that's, truly like generational, one of those like you can't trade away prospects. I know Jonah Tonk's kind of getting in that range a little bit with how insanely good he's been at Double-A. But are the Mets either going to push some of those chips in to go get somebody big, maybe someone we haven't even considered yet? Or are we going to see some of those chips moved up like we've seen on some Brewers teams in the past, where maybe we see a Nolan McLean, maybe we see a crazy Jonah Tonk call-up, maybe we see a Brandon Sproat call-up? Because last mention of this guy until we do the Yankee series preview and at the end of the Brewer series, but like, how many more times can you see Paul Blackburn do this? How many more times are you going to, if Blade Tidwell scuffles again, we got to try someone else, right? We can't just keep throwing him out there and see him get shelled, even though I think me and you both believe in him as a starter long-term at some point, maybe the back end of this rotation. I think there's a spark that can be made to this team, either through trades or bringing up some of the young guys. Shit, Jet Williams is playing unbelievable baseball. Like, I'm not calling for him to be called up. I think he's still got time. But do you think David Stearns tries to bring up some of the young guys as a spark, or that he goes to the trade market and move some of those young guys to get a spark?
I have bad news.
You think
It's either? I don't think it's either. I don't know.
You can't tell me that.
I'm sorry, you guys don't want to hear that, but that's just not the way you do it. I think it would be the antithesis of who David Stearns is as executive to take, like we began this show, where 10% of the season makes you start to make rash decisions. I think a lot of what we've dealt with this Mets roster and some of the development of these Mets prospects who are now official major leaguers, that the rushing of them getting to the major leagues too quickly definitely set them back a little bit.
Although, shout out Francisco Alvarez, changed his stance back and
toe tap,
pulled 2 home runs. So that's amazing.
I mean, let's go down and hit AAA pitcher. He can get his number up there too with Mark Vientos and Brett Baty one day maybe. But it's just that's not the way he operates. I'm happy to have a GM who doesn't operate that way, where 16 games will affect all of your decision-making processes. We've also have word that there's not going to be a shakeup in the coaching staff. I do think that's something that, like you said, Eric Chavez, a lot of Mets fans are clamoring for that. I think there's no way that happens this season.
You don't think so?
Almost none, unless you wind up losing like 7 more in a row.
I think
if we get swept the next 6,
I think
the whole homestand, then yeah, Eric Chavez has gone the All-Star break.
I think right now it's 50-50.
I mean, there might have been some instances that happened over the last couple of days that may have made Eric Chavez look a little bit worse in total. Maybe not just on the field, but that's neither here nor there. If you guys know, you know. But I can't see that happening to Eric Chavez 8-7-1-1. I'm going there. But it's just I just don't see that with a team that still has as good of a record. I do think that the Mets have kept Eric Chavez here for a long time intentionally. He's been a part of this organization. He predates David Stearns.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think, and also that might be a problem.
I was just about to say, does that not scream like maybe it's closer than you think? He's not Stearns' guy. Barnes isn't Stearns' guy either.
Same with Mendoza. But that's also
Mendoza was his guy.
No, but they're not Mendoza's guys.
Oh, correct. Yes.
But whose guys are they then?
I don't know. I do know they're Billy Eplers and Bucks.
Yeah, well, we know what those guys are doing now. They're not working for professional baseball teams.
Is that not even more of a sign that maybe a change should be more imminent and maybe could be more imminent? Reading into the tea leaves a little bit here, but
yeah, also maybe the vote of confidence. That's usually, especially in NFL terms, the moment when you know that there's no confidence.
Yeah.
And the All-Star break's a really natural time to maybe make a shakeup and a change like that. But also, like, is there a person in-house? Is there someone you're ready to do? Like, I don't know. This seems to be a rash thing for
who's the AAA coach?
I'll get him up. But you're still 10 games over. That's the one change I see much more likely than either aggressive minor league call-ups. Like we've said before, Nolan McLean's not even pitched for a full season yet. He's also doesn't have the same strikeout and walk numbers that you see from elite prospects AAA. Like he's been good, but we're still not seeing development. The rest of the arsenal is good, but it's not great. And we made this mistake with Brandon Sproat. Like I don't know. Like, do you want to rush these? Maybe he can't do it, but
maybe even as a bullpen arm, because
is that nearsighted though?
Could be.
It's probably nearsighted, especially all these bats. Like, no way Jet Williams has even sniffed the major league this year.
I don't think he is either, especially because that position just absolutely clogged the fuck up. Everyone plays shortstop and second base and third base on this team, so that really doesn't help Jet Williams' case at all. But he is playing out of control in Double-A, just a little minor league thing there. He's got like a 900 OPS, playing awesome.
Maybe winds up being Tong is a guy that we're not even thinking about because he is that good. Like, we're seeing other teams like the Reds and the Brewers who smell blood in the water call up their monsters and Chase Burns and Jacob Mizorowski. And maybe statistically speaking, Jonah Tong's on that level, but I think there's also a danger in just scouting prospects based on their statistical acumen, because I do still think there's some things about Jonah Tong's game. I know the change was gotten amazing, but it's like
he's not Chase Burns or Jacob Mizorowski who throw 100 miles an hour and have wipeout
Those guys
sliders.
are actual freaks of nature, clearly the best pitching prospects in baseball. I still think Jonah Tong is awesome, but clearly a rung below them. Like we always say, it's like a top 5 pitching prospect in baseball. There's a big difference between one. Yeah, right. It's a big difference between 1, 2, and 5, where those guys come up and it's like, oh my god. But like,
it's kind of like the difference from like when Montero and Syndergaard were prospects. It's like Syndergaard, you get it. Montero, you're like, oh yeah, he's just not that guy. Yeah.
I mean, don't compare Rafael Montero to Jonah Tong. I think you just sent a shiver down Mets fans' spines.
I'm saying from the thought process.
This comes back to the guys on the team, though. Why we can't be looking to the 22-year-olds to spark the club? Like, where's like Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo, Jeff McNeil, Juan Soto, and then one of the Vientos, Beatty, Mauricio, triumvirate. You guys got to hit. You have to do this. A few games that we've won in this horrible cold stretch, like they've won the games because the pitching's not really been that good. I mean, David Peterson on Friday night, like Jesus Christ, like
crazy.
That was horrific. He missed every single spot he threw. A good reminder on who David Peterson really is. Not saying David Peterson really sucks, but David Peterson is not exactly like a 2.2 ERA guy. Of course not.
I also think the catcher ERA idiots that I see on social media talking about how Alvarez is a big problem, all the pitchers with their ERAs, where it's like, no, you see like sometimes pitchers just pitch poorly. Luis Torrens is awesome, and David Peterson couldn't find the zone, and he gave up 8 runs. Like, you blame Luis Torrens for those runs right there?
And Peterson's such a location-based guy because his stuff is not standout. He's got hit all his 4 quadrants with his different pitches, and he would miss every single one on Friday night. It was
barreling
so bad.
Him up. It was crazy.
And then Blake Tidwell comes the game. Brian Reynolds licks his chops and puts one 420 feet into the left field stands. But it's just like, what's happening right now? And it's funny too because it feels like that Pirates team got going. Brian Reynolds has been struggling to get off the Schneider all season. Now suddenly he looks like an all-star again. But
Brian Hayes looked like he was going to get cut.
Keep Brian Hayes. There's like a I don't know why I got some Pirates Twitter on my timeline, but there's some Pirates fans who's like calling for him to be traded. Where it's like, who do you guys think is going to play third base if he's not there?
But also, who do you think wants him and his money? He has a contract.
He's a real contract. But I think both sides, you just kind of stuck with each other there for better or worse.
Just give him a hug and pat on the back and say, I'll see you tomorrow.
We have to play better. We just have to play better. And I do think a big reason that I also don't think that we're going to get that prospect hammer like you're talking about. I know a lot of the prospect lists are getting refurbished through the season. We had Matt Eddy on Baseball America talking a few weeks ago, and we Pipeline had one 2 weeks ago, and this week Fangraphs had theirs. And the consensus with this Mets system is while there's tons of good players, there's no blue chipper, there's no monster. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I still think the Mets have built a system up where we probably have one that's still the 10 best systems in baseball because we probably have 5 or 6 guys who are lock major leaguers.
Dodgers now have a couple of those guys with DePaula and Zaire Hope, but like they went through a stretch too where they didn't have these blue chippers, but they had 25 really good prospects.
And you're seeing it now with the Dodgers, where Emmett Sheehan is getting 13 strikeouts in AAA game, and Dave Roberts being like coy and tongue-in-cheek about Wednesday he has the next major league start. The writer's like, he'd be like the second best pitcher in your actual rotation. Like, why are you like messing around with us? And then a guy like Miguel Vargas, who can't get his footing for years and years and years in partial playing time, goes to the White Sox, plays every day. What do you know? 120 OPS plus, looking like a good ball player. Good players. Just good. Sometimes these guys need time to get into their grooves, but that's the difference of the hammers like Mizorowski and Chase Burns and Nick Kurtz, where it's like, those are guys who change your team.
But even him, it took Kurtz a full month to get it going. Yeah.
But to get the guys that change your team, they're guys who are animals. Like Kurtz and Burns were drafted last year in the top 5.
Yeah, Kurtz was a top college hitter. He had like a 500 on base percentage as a college hitter.
I pray to God the Mets don't have a top 5 pick for the next 20 years.
Of course not.
Without having a top 5 pick, you're not going to get those guys. That's why the Mets, I think, are doing a really good job of building up their international free agency pool, their scouting pipeline down there. And also, like it annoys me where it's like, oh, now we're talking about Elian Pena because he had one game, the DSL with 8 RBIs. Shut the fuck up about the 17-year-old kid. Like this, I hate the click harboring on these guys. That we're not going to see the major leagues for 6 years.
That video was insane. The kid that was like on the Yankees pitching against him. I'm like, I don't think that guy has a hair on his entire body, like on his face, on his armpits. I was like, he's a baby out here. We're literally watching sophomores in high school play baseball right
literally
now.
No, scouting the DSL is like watching junior varsity baseball, but like a better talent
they're
level,
way better,
but age-wise. Those are 16, 17, some 18, some 19-year-olds. Like that's like watching like mid-level club baseball in America.
What was it, Anthony Davis? I know it's basketball, but like Anthony Davis grew like 11 inches or something from freshman to senior year. Like some of these guys might go from being like 5'9" to 6'4", and you wouldn't even blink.
But again, it's just like, again, I know that's the game. Twitter pays you money now, so you have to get the impressions and clicks as much as you can, of course. But it's just like, it's the focus is in the wrong places of some of this stuff. And I think the focus of this Mets team has to come back to the veterans, the leaders, the guys who've been there and done that. You have to do it. You just have to do it. You're playing badly. There's too many studs on this team to let this team be this bad for this long. If again, I'll make a defiant statement right now. This team makes the playoffs. If this team misses the playoffs, it's a disaster season.
Oh yeah, of course it's a disaster season. Yeah,
and I hate to be like talking head bullshit, but like
Mets don't make the NLCS. It's a pretty bad season.
I can't say that because you get into a 5-game, 3-game playoff series, anything can fucking happen in baseball.
Well,
anything can happen.
Yeah, we just got
those are random
Pirates.
series.
Yeah.
We only made the NLCS last year because we got mammoth clutch home runs by the 2 best players on the team. If one of those home runs don't happen, we probably don't make the NLCS. And we even took the Dodgers 6 games after that. But it's just like you have to at least get yourself to the dance with a shot to do something. If this team's not able to do that, someone has to answer for that. I'm not. This isn't like fucking Stephen A. Smith over here talking, but like, oh, what's the legacy going to be for these guys? But it's like you gotta. There's too many good players in this team to be playing like this shit.
I will say we are officially on Gong Watch, I think. I know if you guys have been around for a while, back in the Mets days, we did an entire episode about trying to switch the juju, good vibes, get rid of bad luck. We're on Gong Watch. If you have gongs, I suggest that you hit them at home, give it a good strike. That's always good luck, I believe, in the Chinese culture. Shout out gongs. But I think we're also on Sage Watch here as well. I know, James, you're out in Brooklyn. We see a couple more bad games, we might have to pull out the Sage.
We definitely do because we're playing some good teams this week, and now like, we could just do this and talk to each other forever about this. We have to get to the preview of the Brewers series coming up.
To it.
This Brewers team we have not faced yet this season because last year we had the Brewers sandwich where we faced them for 3 games opening day, 3 games end the season, then the bonus 3 games wild card round of the playoffs. And now this team is playing their best baseball they've played all season over the last month. One of the hottest offensive teams in baseball of late, which is kind of surprising.
Best record over the last 30 games in baseball or something like that.
And we're seeing some good pitchers from this team. So just getting to the pitching matchups this series. 3, 7, 10 games, all at Citi Field. I know Mark and I are going to be at probably 1, possibly 2 of these games. I think you'll definitely be at 1.
Yeah, I'll definitely be at Mizorowski Blade on Wednesday. Thursday's very much up in the air. We'll not be there Tuesday.
Yeah, so... Oh, you're not be there Tuesday?
Aren't we going out to dinner?
I thought we were either going to do that or go to the Mets game. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. So Tuesday, 7:10, bit of an ace-off. Clay Holmes versus Freddie Peralta. Just as an aside, Clay Holmes, didn't give up a home run for his first, 7 starts of the year. He's given up at least 1. And I'm pretty sure the last 8 he's made. So watch out for this. At least the 1 Clay Holmes home run. Also, on Friday, did you know how many starts Mitch Keller went without winning a game?
I'm probably 70. I don't know. When's the last time he played the Mets?
It was 15. He was approaching the Pirates Club record. 15 straight starts without winning his decision. So
but
we helped to break that.
What did I tell you, by the way, in your fantasy thing? You said
Mitch Keller's gonna crush.
I said you should start Mitch Keller. He fucks the Mets up every single time.
Yeah, in the same ilk, I was like, you think Dustin May against the Royals? Like, of course, Royals suck. Dustin May got torched by the Royals.
Should trust me.
Yeah, but to Wednesday, young man off. Blade Tidwell versus Mark just said Jacob Mizorowski. Going to wax poetic about Jacob Mizorowski in a second. Thursday, also 7:10. With a box we can't get an afternoon game for an early podcast Thursday night. This is going to be a fun one. This could be one that is either really good or really pisses Mets fans off because David Pizza versus Jose Quintana.
What we could have had?
Jose Quintana hasn't exactly been good this year, but he also has exactly been Jose Quintana, which is kind of funny to think about. But
video tribute, right?
Yeah, video tribute. Does it start with the X-ray revealing the tumor that the Mets missed in his physical?
It's gotta be.
He missed the half of the 2023 season.
It broke his rib. It was so big the Mets couldn't find it.
A stress fracture and because of a tumor so big in his rib cage that broke his rib before he ever pitched a game for the team, missing the physical. But this Brewers team's good. As the Brewers are every single year, they are a damn good baseball team. There's no other way to slice it. Christian Yelich started off the season ice cold. He's been blazing hot of late. Same with William Contreras, who played through a broken bone in his hand. Shout out catchers that play through broken bones in their hand.
What do you know? His OPS was close to Francisco Alvarez. Almost like a hand injury might impact your hitting.
Yeah, but now he's quite good again. Jackson Chourio similarly started the season poorly, but now has also just been good. He was swinging at everything. Yeah. Now he's starting to swing at a tiny bit less, and you're showing off the incredible natural talent. Mark, your boy Sal Frelick, can I tell you something? Can I tell you something cool?
Yeah, he's fucking Brett Gardner, I know.
I've been sharing the Brett Gardner comp about Sal Frelick wide and through the fantasy baseball community. People fucking love it. I'm just taking credit for it. Like
Son
you do
of a
for all
bitch,
my
that's
takes.
fine.
Yeah, like you do for all my takes over the years, but I'm just going to have that one. And also, on the opposite ilk, Bryce Terang and Reese Hoskins, 2 friends of the program, started the season as other dog shit. And now, started the season incredibly, and now are other dog shit. Have been ice cold for about 2 straight months now, so they're, of course, going to get big hits in the series.
Reese Hoskins going to hit 3 home runs.
Same with another funny one here. Someone I like and you hate, Caleb Durbin. went back to the
Caleb
Brewers
Durbin
as the big piece in the Devin Williams, Nestor Cortez trade. I think Caleb Durbin was sneaky the actual piece of that trade with Nestor Cortez on a 1-year contract. It's been awesome in the month of June. Nearly a 300 batting average, 350 on base percentage, stealing bases, actually hitting home runs, stabilizing that third base position for the Brewers that's been up in the air for 10 years, 15 years?
Forever. Since
trying
they
to
moved
remember.
Ryan Braun off of third base after his rookie year, I think.
There was someone else in between there. Pedro Feliz had some good moments there.
I think Pedro Feliz was on the Phillies, dude.
I think he was on both.
Let's take a look at what Pedro Feliz is up to. You keep talking.
And then other guys in this lineup, Isaac Collins is he's a very funny baseball player. Pedro Feliz never a Brewer.
Never a
Who
Brewer.
was the? There was
Bill
a
Hall.
Latino, there was a Latino third baseman in the Brewers in like 2012. So I can't remember it.
I'll find it. I mean, they had Casey McGee at one point, which I remember.
Casey McGee.
I think he put up like 118 RBIs 1 year.
1 year. He was a fantasy baseball animal that year. But Isaac Collins is funny. He's a switch hitter. He's out of Creighton, if I'm not mistaken.
I had Aramis Ramirez at third.
Okay, that's definitely not who I'm thinking of course, because he's a cup at heart. But I might just be wrong. I might just be way wrong about my NL Central history right now. Isaac Collins, switch hitter,
Sneaky
small
rookie of
guy.
the year.
Sneaky rookie of the year guy. I mean, the National League Rookie of the Year race disaster. Jacob Mizrowski, after pitching, I think 7 innings, became the favorite for the National League Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
That's how much of a disaster rookies in the National League are this year. Similar disaster to what the American League is in terms of its teams in general. But again, one more line about Isaac Collins. He's a switch hitter, totally different ball player from each side of the plate. Left side, if I remember this right, left side is a slappy. Right side, he's swing as hard as he can for as long as he can. And it all turns out to being a league average hitter who can run and throw like every single outfielder the Brewers ever bring up from their system. Somehow is an athletic corner outfielder who's probably too good for the corner, not good enough for center, who can run, hit for average, run 2 home runs. Amazing how they keep developing the exact same player over and over and over and over again.
And, of course, it's the Milwaukee Brewers. They have a demon bullpen. Absolutely disgusting. Trevor McGill continues to prove that he is one of the most slept-on, underrated relievers in Major League Baseball. Everyone's favorite reliever, Abner Uribe, who I believe shot bullets at the Mets with a theoretical gun after getting the save on opening
Saturday.
weekend. Yeah, against the New York Mets.
The game we threw at Rhys Hoskins.
Yeah, he's been lights out. He's been unhittable. Me and James have been on this guy for years.
2022.
It's coming together. Abner Uribe is great. Nick Mears is fantastic. Even like Grant Anderson, great.
Koenig.
Aaron Ashby, despite having the worst extension in Major League Baseball, great. Like, they are just freaks on the mound. The Mets need to get out early and score early because if the Brewers bullpen gets a lead, they usually don't give it up.
And something else the Brewers do amazingly every year, and of course we're learning this to the Mets now with David Stearns coming from the Brewers to this Mets team. They find guys in the back of this rotation every year, and for no reason, they're awesome. Quinn Priester, after being traded from the Pirates to the Red Sox, stinking, then being traded from the Red Sox to the Brewers for low-end prospects, has been awesome. One of the most consistent pitchers in the National League's entire season. And there's no real stuff behind it. There's still a lot of hiding of his fastball at breaking balls, but he's so cunning, and he's really improved his command a lot. He's become the reincarnation of Tobias Myers, but as Tobias Myers started to suck again, which is probably a preview.
And he throws a little harder too, right?
A little harder, but he also has fewer pitches.
Okay.
Tobias Myers was a tunnel king, where Quinn Priester does have the hammer. I think it's a curveball or a slider. And then have to talk about him, especially because we're going to see him in the series. Jacob Mizrowski, if you guys haven't seen him, haven't heard, he's become like the talk of Major League Baseball. He beat Paul Skeens head-to-head last week. I think that really picked up the shine. I've heard national media now start talking about Miz. It's openly the best stuff in baseball. I can actually say that honestly. Like it's a slider that moves like a foot and comes in like 95 miles an hour. You're going to see some ugly swings on it. The fastball that gets up to 102 miles an hour,
which, by the way,
almost 8 feet of extension.
I was about to say, he's releasing the ball about 53, 52 feet away from you, so it's 101, 102 from even closer than you could ever imagine. The guy's tickling you with the fastball.
Yeah, I saw it on someone's calculation. Shout out Alex Chamberlain with his pitch leaderboard. Alex Chamberlain's great Tableau page. If you guys are into fantasy baseball, deep pitching numbers. The perceived velocity has gotten up to about 106 miles an hour.
Yeah, good luck.
Which would be the fastest pitch any player has ever seen. He's an animal, 6'7". He technically pitched a no-hitter through the first 9 innings of his major league career, but that was over 2 separate games.
He's only given up 3 hits.
It's outrageous how good this guy is, and we're gonna have to face him. This offense really not hitting well at all, so it's gonna have a work cut out for us there. It's a spectacle. I'm excited you're gonna be able to go to that game because I'm gonna be covering for NBC for Wednesday night.
Yeah, no, I was not missing Mizrowski. The one thing that I will say about him, he can lose his mechanics at times. His mechanics are super
He's
all
huge.
over the place. Yeah, he's just a monster human being. He falls off hard to first base, like incredibly hard. I'm gonna tell you right now, I think Juan Soto lays down a bunt against them.
I can see that. Juanso has been sneaking around the bunts lately. Juanso has been so good. So funny that this team was incredible. Juanso couldn't hit. Now this team sucks ass. Juanso doesn't get out. But
because now that he's hitting home runs, not getting on base, Pete's like, oh, fuck, I got to start hitting singles again. So make sure someone's on base.
And just got to give credit where it's due to Freddie Peralta, who just has become one of the most steady and consistent pitchers in baseball. Made Dynasty League trade a couple months ago, like first couple weeks of April, where I shipped off Freddie for Cam Smith, Astros, who finally just turned the corner and got hot. Thought that was a nice square trade. Good deal for both sides. But Freddie's awesome. He's still got the nice cut right fastball. He's done something crazy this year where he was always fastball slider ad nauseum, and now it's not at all. It's all curveball changeup, which is amazing because the whole thing with Freddie Peralta forever. I had an article from 2021 about pitchers who need a third pitch for pitcher list way back in the day when I started making content. I wrote it in an Airbnb in Scottsdale, Arizona. I was hanging out with my friends at spring training, and I was about to take a solo road trip by myself. And it was all about this Freddie Peralta. If he needs that changeup to come along, slider doesn't even happen anymore. It's all changeups and curveballs. And he's found really, really good form of both of them.
And he owns
them. I mean, he owns everybody. He's got a guy for his career, as a starting pitcher for his career, let's see what it is here. I was not a starting pitcher, just overall. Freddie Peralta has a 1.14 whip in his career and a 3.7 ERA. And that's with the first 3 major league seasons that spanned almost 200 innings, whereas ERA was 4.5.
Yeah.
So since Freddie Peralta became a full-time starter in 2021, we're looking at like a 3.2 ERA and like a 1.10 whip.
And it's a
really good pitcher.
Can't forget to have manager of the year as well, Pat Murphy.
Manager of the year, Pat Murphy. No, nothing's better than winning the manager of the year. It's a good team. It's a good baseball team.
They are a good baseball team.
They don't fuck anything up. They play really good defense. They run the bases well. They have a good middle of the order. This is the best collection of talent, which is kind of ironic. I think the Brewers have had in a very long time.
Yeah, it's a very. I mean, they could still use one more legit bat, but the pitching's about as good as it's been. The lineup, top to bottom, feels very, very capable, which is something that you haven't always been able to say about their offense.
With the hammers in the middle between Chourio, nice catching that fly.
I just caught a fly. That was crazy.
That was awesome. Chourio, Yelich, and William Contreras is still a lights out middle of the order. That's a heart of the order that can contend with basically any team in the league. It's definitely not in the part of, I would say, the Mets and the Dodgers, but it's like of the second tier, that's a scary 2, 3, 4.
And they're so pesky.
Yeah, and like the rest of the guys are pesky, and Rhys Hoskins will run into one guaranteed in the series against the Mets.
Anything else, or is it time to wrap us up?
I think I'm gonna check on Frankie Peppers, but I was checking my DMs before and I didn't see anything from him.
I mean, it's been bad.
Yeah, no, Frankie Peppers has taken himself out of this episode, so we respect Frankie, respect his silence at this moment. I don't know if the Mets team deserved Frankie Peppers after this one. I have a question before we go. Do you think anyone in the Mets locker room's ever heard Frankie Peppers?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, you think they have? Awesome. That's sick.
Who'd you have to guess?
Jeff.
I would go McNeil as well.
Yeah. That's awesome to hear.
He's a little baseball rat. That's what he is.
That's great to think about.
Anything else? That's it.
I think that's it. As you guys know, keep checking out that merch at the bottom. I also think Mark and I are going to be at the game, Subway Series, Saturday, July 5th. Planning for a train episode, good or bad. So get ready for that one. If you guys want to be a part of the Mets'd Up podcast, get your voice heard, even if you want to be on camera. If you don't want to be on camera, you want to just hang out, watch with us.
That also will be we'll see how things feel going up to that day too.
I think bad might be as good for the content.
Yeah, you think so?
For sure. Oh my god, because we know the place is gonna be packed.
I guess we might get some mutant Yankee fans on too.
Any kind of nonsense that we can get. I think we thrive in nonsense.
All right, well we'll nonsense it up. Guaranteed Saturday. Wardy's also going to be with us there on Saturday.
I'd love to do a train cast with Worthy.
Yeah, he's getting ready to have some drinks in New York afterwards, so we'll have a good time. We're running up on the train. That's it for this episode, guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Follow us on all our social media at Mets'd Up on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Subscribe to the Mets'd Up Podcast YouTube channel if you have not yet already done so. Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google. Drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. You can follow James on social media at
James Schiano.
I'm Draftnik Mark with a C. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We will catch you all in the next episode. Peace out.
Peace out, guys. Let's go Mets.